exactly is happening with Laura right now. Wind speeds are sustained at 90 miles an hour, and the pressure has dropped also. Pressure is now at 978 millibars at this moment. So the reason why we look at pressure very closely is because the lower that pressure goes, the stronger it indicates that the storm is. It's moving to the west-northwest at 17 miles an hour. And as it continues to move to the west-northwest, we're going to keep a close eye out for the possibility or for when it does start to turn more northerly. So if you guys are tuning in, I wanted to give you the latest update coming up from the National Hurricane Center. I also have our Facebook live stream up. So if you guys have any questions, comment below and I'll be answering questions as we go through this Facebook Live. But Beatrice is tuning in. She's asking already, are we going to get any rain in Austin? And to answer that question, we are barely going to see any rain chances. We have about a 20 to 30% chance of rain for us in Austin. As far as the trajectory, where this system is going, we're on the dry side. So rain chance is not looking likely for us here in Austin. Let's talk about the forecast cone. As of right now, it's a Category 1 hurricane, still moving to the west-northwest, but it's going to begin to make a northerly turn by tomorrow evening. And then the forecast cone does make landfall as a strong Category 3 hurricane, which is a major hurricane somewhere along the Texas or Louisiana border. Okay, so there's still a little bit of uncertainty of where exact landfall will be. Computer models are not 100% agreeing if it's going to be a Texas landfall or a Louisiana landfall. What we do know is that it's going to be close to the state line, and we do know that it's going to be a major hurricane. The possibility of a stronger hurricane is there. It's not something that we can rule out. Jose Correa is asking if we think it's going to shift west by tomorrow. I can let you know that some spaghetti plots, which I'll get to in just a sec, are showing the possibility of a slightly west shift. So that's why we cannot let our guard down. We have to keep our guard up because there's still a little bit of uncertainty with the exact landfall location. So what's steering the storm? There's a ridge of high pressure in the upper levels of our atmosphere. That's going to help turn it north. But the quicker it turns north, the more of a Louisiana landfall we'll get. The longer it takes to turn north, that means it's shifting west longer. That's going to put it more for a Texas landfall, and it would get closer to the Houston area. So that's why we have to keep our guard up. Here's a look at what computer models are showing. So spaghetti plots, it shows all of the computer models. This one shows a lot of them, a lot of the most computer models that we look at as meteorologists and when we're forecasting tropical systems. But zooming in to the cone of uncertainty, and then I put on the spaghetti models on top of the cone. The cone is agreeing with the majority of them, right? The center track right on the state line, but notice there's a couple of outliers. So to answer your question, we still have the possibility that this cone is going to shift a little bit further to the west. It could shift to the east, depending on what the latest runs show with this system. So let's go back to local impacts, because there's been a lot of questions of, are we going to get any rain here in central Texas? So there's Austin at the top left-hand side of your computer screen. And we are going to watch the path of the progression of Hurricane Laura. So we're going to be chatting about Hurricane Laura as a Category 2 as early as overnight tonight into tomorrow morning, strengthening to a Cat 3, a strong Cat 3. Cat 3 sustained winds are at 111 miles an hour, so it's going to be a very healthy Category 3 before making landfall somewhere along the state line of Texas and Louisiana. But check out where Austin is. It's dry, right? We get a drier north wind that's wrapping around the hurricane, and it's bringing in, some breezy winds. We'll still have a decent amount of sunshine. We'll have a mix of sun and clouds, and then we'll be lucky if we get a couple of rain bands move through our area. The best chance will be east of this system, though. So If you're just tuning in, we're figuring out if we're going to get any rain, and it is not looking very likely for rainfall for us in Austin. As a matter of fact, the next 9 days, under a half an inch of rain. But heaviest of the rainfall totals are expected straight along the state line of Texas and Louisiana. The eastern side of the storm, that's why we call it the dirty side, is where we're expecting higher rainfall accumulation. So don't take a look at these numbers and think, okay, Lake Charles is going to get almost 9 inches of rain, because this is just one computer model and it's just one run, and these numbers are going to change constantly. But I just wanted to show you it's been very consistent that the heaviest of the rain will be for Louisiana into Arkansas. But I do have some good news that the storm is moving out pretty quickly. So we have hurricane warnings in effect, also tropical storm warnings in effect, and storm surge warning. So I think the wind and the storm surge is going to be our biggest threat when we talk about this system. And that's because of just how strong the winds are going to be, and also how fast it's going to be moving out of the area. So that's why flooding is going to be kind of our least concern. It still will be a concern. We still will have areas that are inundated and definitely flooded. We're going to have a lot of rivers and bayous in these areas that are backed up because of the storm surge. So it is still a catastrophic situation that will be seen for a lot of folks across the upper Texas coast and Louisiana. But if this storm was moving slower, it could have been worse. Again, we're expecting it to continue to move anywhere from 15 to about 20 miles an hour. That's been pretty consistent since this storm has developed and strengthened in the Gulf of Mexico. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to go through and answer some questions. Possible flooding in Houston. We're going to be dealing with storm surge if you live closer to the coast. Rufino, Coronado, this is for you. So there's the potential of some localized flooding. It depends where those rain bands set up also. That makes a huge difference. That's why when we talk about hurricanes and tropical systems, some areas they deal with 2 feet of rain, and some areas deal with 6 inches. It is all where the rain band set up. So the possibility is there. The situation is just looking a lot better for Houston, since the forecast cone is east of Houston, but you still have to be on top of the forecast because this could change by tomorrow morning. Dave is asking, based upon projections, would someone driving from Austin to Louisiana this weekend be in jeopardy of running into flooding in Houston and in Beaumont? Yes, Dave. Cancel your plans. Well, the worst of it will be Thursday, Friday. My concern, the storm will be cleared out. My concern is the flooding that we'll be recovering from, also maybe debris, a lot of power outages. You're just going to be driving through the aftermath of the storm. So the rain will be out of there. So just, play it safe. If you could wait till early next week, that'd be better. If you can wait until next weekend, that'd be even better. Michael is asking if the storm could still shift west. Yes, the storm could definitely still shift slightly to the west. And here's the reason why. I showed spaghetti plots earlier. Right now, Houston is no longer in the forecast cone. Galveston's no longer in the forecast cone, but there are a couple of computer models that are still showing the possibility of a slightly more west landfall, which that would be a big change in the forecast for the Houston area. Okay. Let me see. Any other questions? What about Lake Charles? Lake Charles is kind of the bullseye right now. That's because Lake Charles is just east of the center of circulation that could possibly make landfall, whether it's for the upper Texas coast or even southwest Louisiana. It's on the east side of the center of circulation. So that worries me because that's going to be still seeing the possibility of hurricane force winds as strong as Cat 3 winds. And then also flooding is going to be the strongest there, along with the strongest storm surge. So Lake Charles, not a very great location for this. Luis is asking if it can go up to a Cat 4. That's something we have to not rule out. That's definitely a possibility. It's happened before to where storms ramp up when it's forecast not to get that strong. A strong Cat 3 is close enough to a Cat 4 that I would say we cannot rule out the possibility of this increasing to a Cat 4. All right, trying to catch any other questions here. Thanks for tuning in so late on this Tuesday night. I'll be here late tomorrow night also. I'll be watching landfall, so if you guys want to tune in with me tomorrow night, we'll be tracking the system as it makes landfall. And I think I got through a lot of the questions. Folks are just, you guys are asking more of, is it going to shift east? Is it going to shift west? To answer that question, it could shift a little east or west. What is the max winds for a Cat 3? That's a good question. I'm going to pull up this graphic here and we'll go through the different winds. Max winds for a Cat 3. I'm going to pull it up here. 129 miles an hour. So right now the forecast is 120 miles an hour before it makes landfall. So definitely possible because that forecast has only trended higher and higher. Right now it is a strong Category 1 hurricane. Right now the wind speeds are sustained at 90 miles an hour, so it's putting it in the Category 1 hurricane. And then Category 2 hurricane is expected possibly within the next advisory. This system has been rapidly intensifying in the Gulf of Mexico today. So I think by the next advisory, we're going to have a Category 2 hurricane. And then by tomorrow, a Category 3 hurricane before it makes landfall. So want to show you just some bullet points if you're just tuning in right now. Headlines, if you're tuning in, we're talking the latest with Hurricane Laura. It's expected to make landfall tomorrow night. I'll be tracking it live here on Facebook, on Twitter, whatever you're tuning in from, whatever social platform you're tuning in from. It'll be a major hurricane at landfall, at least a Cat 3. Okay, this could change by the time you update yourself with the forecast tomorrow morning. So that's why it's very important to update with the forecast at least 2 times a day because of how rapidly these forecasts changes. And then the biggest threat is storm surge and a wind threat. And here's the reason why. The storm, it's moving at 17 miles an hour. So that means it's not going to sit on top of an area. It's moving rapidly. And we want it to move rapidly because we want it to get out of the area that it's bringing the catastrophic winds and heavy rain, because the longer it sits in an area, the more damage it's going to do. All right. Okay, so Stephen is saying that he doesn't really rely on the National Weather Service models. They've been through too many hurricanes on the East Coast, and the European's much more accurate. So let's look at a graphic that I have, and we can look at the European model together then. This is comparing the GFS and the European model. So we can compare, contrast what the European is showing compared to the American model. So what I'm going to do is start off where we are right now. So right now, Laura is in the center of the Gulf of Mexico. The European model is the yellow shaded colors. The GFS is the red shaded color. So I'm going to slowly fast forward this, and there's a timestamp at the top right hand corner of your screen. So as of right now, the European is showing by late tomorrow night, so we're talking midnight Thursday, still not making landfall, but the Euro is shifting a little further to the west, but technically still east of the Houston area. So the European is showing a Texas landfall. The GFS, which is the American model, is showing a southwestern landfall at about 3 a.m., if not possibly a little later. So that's what the European model is showing at this time. So hopefully that answers your question, Stephen. European model is a great computer model that we heavily rely on as well. It does great with the tropical weather. So it is taking more of the westerly side, but still technically east of Houston, which is best case scenario for Easton. Let's see. How low do we expect the barometric pressure to drop? Good question. Well, let's take a look at where the pressure is right now. And it could drop significantly. As of right now, I believe it's in, let's see, 978 millibars. Earlier today, pressure was at 990 millibars when I started my day today, which was about 1:30 p.m. or so. So that pressure is going to continue to drop with the Cat 3 easily by tomorrow morning, possibly in the upper 60s. And if you guys are wondering why we're talking about the pressure, because the lower that number goes, the stronger the system is. So that's why meteorologists look at pressure so much. And that's measured in millibars. So right now it's at 978 millibars. I think by tomorrow it's going to be in the 960 millibars. So we're just going to have to see how low that number goes, and that's going to indicate how strong this system is going to get. All right. I think I got a lot of your guys' questions here. So what we're going to do is let you guys go because I'm going to get some sleep because I'm going to have a long night tomorrow. But I hope I answered your questions. Again, make sure to check in with the forecast tomorrow. Make sure if you have any loved ones across the coastal areas that they are listening to their city officials if they're in an evacuation zone, a mandatory evacuation. So shouldn't it simply be it's going to hit Houston or not? To answer that question, as of now, Houston is not getting hit. As of right now, Houston is west of the system. As of now, Austin's west of the system. Austin's rain chances are really, really low. Hey, you're welcome, Stephen, for showing you the Euro. Of course. Lauren, you're very sweet. Thanks for that. Very sweet comment. You made my day. I know Albert's hard, to compare to. I love Albert too, but I'm trying my best, and I really am passionate about Austin and keeping you guys safe in Central Texas and just weather in general. So I hope that you guys trust me in the long run, and we'll get through all these weather experiences together safely. Okay, so I'm going to let you guys go, and we will chat tomorrow. Also, our meteorologists will be doing these updates constantly. We're doing about 4, 5, 6 updates, I think, throughout the day. So stay safe, have a good night, and we'll chat with you guys soon.